There have been many Blue Jays prospects like Ricky Tiedemann that have risen up the prospect rankings this season, but there's one guy we're going to focus on today that has shocked the baseball universe. So we're going to discuss his performance in the minor leagues as well as if he could potentially be used as a trade chip going forward. So we're going to break down all that and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? It's Gosse, your host of Jays Digest. And before we get into this fun video, I want to remind you guys to hit the subscribe button. We are on the road to 7,500 subscribers. The Jays are starting to do well again. We're close to a playoff spot, so we're going to have tons of content coming for you guys. So hitting that button would mean the world to me and Peter. And Peter will be back soon. But let's just get into the focus of this video. And we want to focus on one prospect who has had many articles published about him recently. And he's been one of the most volatile prospects the Blue Jays have had in it's seeming like years, or maybe that they've even ever had. And that guy is, of course, Aurelvis Martinez. Now, Aurelvis Martinez is a name that's been in the system for a while. He's been one of our top-ranked prospects at one point. Then he fell down the ladder a little bit. And now he's our number 4th-ranked prospect and starting to kind of, edge his way on closer and closer to the Blue Jays' top prospect, rankings there. And he's a guy who has tons of power. He strikes out a lot. But he, some people profile him as a Joey Gallo type hitter. There's so much to break down with Aurelvis Martinez, and he has been shocking the baseball universe recently. And let's just get into an article posted by Ethan here of Yahoo Sports, and he said, let's not forget about Aurelvis Martinez. The Blue Jays prospect is having a good season in Double-A, but is his greatest value as a trade chip. Read more. So we're going to be focusing primarily on his performance specifically the past month or two, because he has been unbelievable the past month or so. And before that, he was on a really cold stretch, and many Jays fans thought, who knows if Aurelvis Martinez will ever actually break through and get to the major leagues. But let's delve into some of his stats here. So Aurelvis Martinez, since May 20th, he's hitting .333 with a .483 on base percentage and a 20.7% walk rate. And he is just, again, he's a guy who has been, up and down his whole career. His whole minor league career, he's been, again, the top prospect, then a very low prospect, and he's been pummeling the ball as of late. He's been hitting for tons of power. He's been hitting for average. He's been getting on base, and he has been unbelievable. And Aurelvis Martinez is, he profiles primarily as a third baseman, but his arm is very, very solid, but he's a guy that the Blue Jays and many Blue Jays fans out there thought, who knows if he'll ever actually, whether he'll, be on the Blue Jays team, because of course Matt Chapman is a pending free agent after this season, and we have, other prospects like Addison Barger on the pipeline and other players like that. Even Otto Lopez can play some infield there. Players are wondering, and obviously, us as fans are wondering if Aurelvis Martinez will ever make an impact. And the way he has been performing lately, shocking the world and shocking the baseball universe, is he's completely turned to 180 after the beginning of his season. He's on a 45 home run pace. He's hitting less fly balls. This is your last chance to get in, try preaching at him off-season, game-changing power. And he's a guy who could come up to the major leagues, and he has the power tool. He could come up to the major leagues now, and will he hit for average? Probably not. Will he hit 30 home runs if he played a full season? I think so. I really do think if he was in the major leagues, he would be hitting for this power. But the thing that was, waiting to come along for Aurelvis Martinez was the plate discipline, was the walk rate, was the on-base percentage, and was not striking out. And as you can see here, since May 20th, this was, of course, back in June 14th, and he's been doing good since then. A very high walk rate, a lowered K percentage, used to be a lot higher, and his batted balls and play average was at a record low, and now it's starting to slowly creep up, and he was getting extremely unlucky, and Jays fans are starting to notice that. And let's wrap back now into the article. This is from this article again by Ethan. He said, for starters, the numbers suggest Martinez is a very streaky hitter, which isn't uncommon for big power guys. Basically says in a pinch, he can rev it up, and his 1,200 OPS in his 29 spring training games, for example. And we've seen Aurelvis Martinez in spring training games hit home runs. He had one this past spring training, hit a lot, and then he'd go to the minor leagues and kind of be streaky. So we know that the potential is there. It was just a matter of whether Aurelvis Martinez could kind of translate that to a full season. And they go on to say that the numbers tell me there's a blueprint for how pitchers can beat him. Maybe that's breaking balls away or fastballs up and in. And this is the key here. He said, luckily for Martinez, he can tinker with his approach and counter anything pitchers try. The iron power provides an infallible baseline for his abilities, and it also makes him unique in the Blue Jays farm system. And this is the big thing about Aurelvis Martinez. There are not many prospects in all of baseball that have as much power as Aurelvis Martinez, and by having the power tool, it mentions here, guys, at the bottom, you can see that Jordan Grosjean's heavy on the on-base approach. Even Spencer Horwitz is not a power guy. He's more of an on-base guy. And while that is very, very good and translates fairly well to the MLB, it lowers your floor a little bit because having power is so key on the baseball field. Aurelvis Martinez has that power, and if he can just learn to take better pitches and strike out less, then he could turn into a perennial all-star just simply because of his like 70 grade power that he has. And he has absolute, go look at some of his clips on Twitter. He hits absolute moonshots, and he is a prospect that I truly believe is going to continue to rise up the pipeline. And there's a chance that maybe he's our starting third baseman. Who knows? Maybe as soon as next year. That's very, very unlikely, I would say. Completely depends on how they value their other internal prospects as well as if they re-sign Matt Chapman. But he's as MLB ready to a degree. He has the MLB ready tools to be, a starting third baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays if he continues and redefines this approach. And this is the key thing now. He's been unbelievable as of late. He started off really cold. If he can find somewhere in the middle where he's maintaining a 250 average with his type of power, he could have an OPS above 850 and be crazy. And, I'm talking about some stats here. You can look at it. Back in 2019 and 2021, he was one of our top prospects. He didn't play in the COVID-shortened, minor leagues there, but you see an OPS of 900 in his, rookie year's debut in pro ball. Again, OPS approaching 900, and this is the big thing here. In 2021, you can see split between Vancouver and Dunedin. He had 28 home runs and 87 RBIs, and even last year on his kind of down year where he only had a 732 OPS, he still hit 30 home runs. And this is the most recent thing. He's brought his OPS up to as high as it's been since 2021. He has 17 home runs. He's on track for 45. And he has been unbelievable as of late. And keep in mind, those stats are considering the first good chunk of the minor league season. He was playing awful. He was barely getting any hits. When he did get hits, there were just home runs, which is great, of course, but he would only get home runs. He wouldn't hit singles. He wouldn't hit doubles. He wouldn't get on base. It would be a strikeout or it would be a home run. And now that he's kind of tuned his eye a little bit, he's swinging, being a lot more selective, he could be a prospect that the Blue Jays maybe use as a trade chip going forward. And we'll have a video in the future talking about maybe Aurelvis Martinez as a trade chip. And the article kind of mentions that he's not their best trade chip, but if there's a team looking for a prospect who's fairly MLB, has the MLB tools, then maybe Aurelvis Martinez would be the guy the Blue Jays trade this deadline, as soon as this deadline. And we'll have tons of videos discussing, lots of trades coming up this deadline because the Blue Jays have a lot of moves to make. But Aurelvis Martinez is a scary, scary prospect, and one that he has a high of a ceiling as really anyone, maybe aside from Ricky Tiedemann and Brandon Barriera in the Blue Jays organization because of that raw power. He's been a top prospect for the past couple of years, and he's starting to rise back up there after kind of falling out of the top 100 list that he used to be in comfortably. And again, his stats are there, his power is there, his tools are fairly, they're fairly there. You can see he's still only hitting 220 this year, but he has an 839 OPS because of his immense amount of home runs. And if he can just limit those strikeouts, he will be a scary, scary prospect and potentially a scary, scary staple in the Blue Jays' young lineup going forward if Matt Chapman leaves. So let me know what your thoughts are on Aurelvis Martinez. I wanted to dive deeper into him because a lot of people have been talking about him. He's been performing unbelievably, and he's one that I'm a little bit excited about going forward because if he can find it, he is, as good of a prospect as there is if he can tune his hitting a bit and improve on his defense. But that'll wrap up the video. Hopefully he can make all those changes, improve on his defense, hit some home runs, and hopefully the Blue Jays will go ahead to sweep the Oakland Athletics tomorrow. We'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.